So last day before the race tomorrow.
Yeah.
Lunch for sure. We're in full race prep mode. All the pre-running's done. All the notes are did. And we are going through just about everything on the car. Shocks got rebuilt with high temp seals thanks to Icon. We did a few small changes on them as well. Those will be going back in. We're going to be welding some small cracks. We're going to be adding a little bit more armor on a few things. I'm adding some last minute decals from Pumpkin Taco. And yeah, we're just going to be kind of busy working on the car. Pit meeting tomorrow. Yeah, it's the calm before the storm, I guess. Good stuff.
So what's going on here? Why do we have 3 tubes?
Well, you got the main body and the reservoirs. What we ran is the reservoir, but shocks have been hot, and we want these guys to go faster. So we decided to turn that reservoir into an inline oil cooler and run a hose out the back, which is now our reservoir. And this guy is all oil, and hopefully should keep that shock cooler.
Why'd you do that? New CV?
Yeah, so fresh CV. The other one's still fine, but we're just gonna swap it just in case the inner CV boot is just starting to push a little bit of grease out. Fresh one won't hurt. That's still gonna be a spare. Should be good to go now.
Oh
We had a little oopsie on the track over here.
We did our little shakedown. Car's basically mechanically 100% prepped, so that's awesome. Everything felt good, and we also went out and did a little photo shoot with Wellen for their sirens, so that was fun. But a few small fab projects left. We're gonna knock those out this evening, and then tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. we'll be lined up for tech and contingency. So last day before the race tomorrow.
Yeah.
Good morning. Today's tech and contingency. We're gonna roll over to the main vendor area, and they're basically gonna be checking all of our safety gear, all the requirements on the vehicle, usually just safety things, looking at window nets. They're gonna be looking at our fuel system, all of our equipment, and we'll get to drive past all the sponsors and everything like that. It's kind of a good way to interact with fans and the vendors that are here. So that'll be our morning. We're gonna head over there pretty soon, and once that's done, we're good. We're ready for race day, and we just gotta, go through the small things that we have left. We're gonna get this mounted. I made this last night. This is gonna go our differential in the front. It's gonna sit in here. This will bolt onto our skid plate and protect that. I also added a couple jack points on the front A-arms for our air jack from Pro Eagle. So we don't have to pick up the whole front of the truck, we can just pick up the corners, and it's not going to be trying to slide off the A-arm or anything like that. And then I also fixed a couple small cracks that we had on our frame. So car's ready. Once this is in, tech and contingency should go smooth, and tomorrow's race day, so heck yeah.
Come with us. Welcome.
Do we pass?
Oh, with flying colors.
Trying Chinese finger trap.
Chinese finger trap.
I done made myself a loop.
So, to get the audio from the car, from the comms, and the radio, we've been using this guy, and it's been doing great. The last couple races, we've tried to use like a DJI portable mic, and for whatever reason, it's not worked. So, going back to the old trusty, we've drilled 3 holes into the back of the plate behind the seat here. So we're gonna hard mount it here, get it snug, and then run a zip tie across, and then this will live right here.
Greatest girl of all time. Just saying. I was just gonna try and put this on the.
You can put
It
a
was.
back in there.
So it's not leaking anymore.
Nope.
You're welcome.
This takes a village, as you can tell. We have one. So thank you all for everything you've done and will continue to do throughout the weekend.
Race day was a blast for us. It didn't necessarily go the way we wanted it to, but it was really, really fun, and we found some new limits to the car. Had a few small issues, but we basically started out mid-pack in 4600. We started around the 24th or 25th 4600 car out of, I think it was 46 this year. But yeah, we had some work ahead of us off the start line. We knew that we had to make up a good bit of positions in the desert lap, and we tried to do just that. As soon as we got off the line, we tried to find a comfortable pace for the car while being fast, but also while saving it. So we were pushing, but we were also trying to be very careful through all of our cautions and everything that we had marked. So we were checking up more than we probably needed to for some things, but we knew the sections where we could go as fast as the car would let us, and we pushed hard to do that. And we found that we were quickly making passes. So not only did we pass a lot of cars right off the bat at Baldwin Hill, a few people were stuck off in the sand on the right. We were able to cruise right up the left line and get out into the desert and then make, I believe, another 2 passes in the whoop section right after. We were able to make quite a few more passes in the desert lap leading up to remote pit 1. Some of them were in our class, some of them weren't, but we were definitely cruising at a good pace. So we were really stoked on that. The Icon shocks were working amazing. The work that Scott and Dylan and the rest of the team at Icon put in during hammers for us to get those dialed in, absolutely game changer for our car. The car was doing incredibly well in the desert, even at a pace where we were very much so babying the car and not pushing as hard as we could. We were still incredibly quick compared to a lot of the other cars that we were making passes on. Getting closer to RP1, we noticed that we had a few new noises, and I noticed in my rearview mirror that our spare tire was trying to make its way loose in the back. At some point, our max tracks that were strapped in under the Y strap on top of our tire, they had fallen out, and that allowed the tire to then have play, which allowed our strap to then slowly work over to the side. And at one point, I looked up and saw the tire fully airborne in the back of the car, and it would land back down into its cradle. So we paced way down to try and keep the tire in the car without stopping, because we knew remote pit 1 was about a mile away at this point. And we made it about 3/4 of a mile with the tire in there, just bouncing around without falling out, until one good bump way off to the side of the course, the tire slipped out. So we marked it on the GPS. I saw that the tire landed out in the bushes, so it wasn't gonna impede anyone else's race. We decided to just push on the pits, have them throw a spare in, restrap it, and we would later come back and pick that tire up.
4628, we just lost our spare.
But other than that, desert lap up to remote pit 1 was incredibly smooth. We had a great pace. The only thing that we were noticing is our trans temps were running a little hot. So we had them splash water on the trans cooler, quick nut and bolt check on the car, just looking over torque pace, and they sent us on our way after throwing that spare in. After that, the second half of the desert lap was a little bit slower. It's a lot rougher, a little bit more technical. There's some rocks and stuff you have to watch out for. So we paced down through all that, but we still found ourselves running a really fast pace and still making passes. So we were really pumped on that. And by the time we were getting towards the backside of Turkey Claw, we were in great position. It looks like on the tracker, looking back, we were in physical 5th in our class, which means that there's a very big potential to be in 4th overall, depending on how our time with the car in front of us stacked up behind the 3 Ford Performance Broncos. So we were really excited to get into main pit and head out to the rocks because we were going to be in a great position as far as traffic goes. Leading up to the sandhill before Turkey Claw, we noticed the car starting to sputter out a little bit when we were getting on the gas hard.
46 to main, we may have used more fuel than we thought. It sounds like the car's running a little low.
And this is normally a sign of either we're low on fuel, our fuel filter is clogged, or we have a pickup issue and either our fuel pickup tube and our fuel cell has come dislodged from our holly mat, or it is sucking closed and the line's too soft and it needs to be replaced. So that was kind of a big hit and kind of put a pit in my stomach coming up to that hill because I knew we were going to need every little bit of horsepower that car had to chug its way through that. We show up, there's a big line of cars and everyone's slowly working their way through it, and we finally get to go and hit it on our turn. And as soon as we hit it, we get about halfway up it and the car starts to cut out at anywhere close to full throttle. And there was just no way for us to climb it. We tried to just crawl up it and see if it would bite, and it wouldn't. And we knew that there was a bunch of cars behind us. We didn't want our car's issues to ruin their day. So we tried to back up and get out of the way. And with the limited visibilities of our mirrors and a little bit of driver error, the car got very stuck between a massive boulder behind us and a big boulder right in the center on our front diff skid, keeping the car high centered, and we were fully stuck. So we tried to come up with a recovery plan to just self-recover. I had Will, my co-driver, work on that, while I then took my helmet off and just ran all the way to main pit, which was about 1.5 miles each way, ran all the way there, picked up a 2-gallon can of gas, carried it all the way back. We splashed the 2 gallons into the car, and around this time, Mike and Noah from Warfab Racing, they were coming out of their desert lap, and we asked them to winch us backwards, which they thankfully so kindly did. They stopped to pull winch for us. We got our car maneuvered to the side, and while he was resetting to do another winch pull, he dropped his front left tire, I believe it was, in a hole. I don't know if the spotter outside didn't see it. I know Will and Noah were both outside of the car, but I'm watching in my rearview mirror and the whole thing just tips all the way over onto its roof, and it was like slow-mo. But just high-sided, the springs unloaded, and on its roof it went.
46.8 to main. I'm back at the car. Mike and Noah are here to help us, and they are upside down currently. Mike is okay. Noah's out of the car as well. He's also fine.
So then we transitioned to full recovery of our truck to then flip theirs back over, pulled winch, got out back onto course, backed up, hooked up winch to them, flipped them back over.
All right, back to work. Dude, we fought for that one. Holy dude, you have no idea how many things I tried. Way to go, buddy. I'm so sorry. Dude, you're fine. I'm so mad. All of that, Will, was because of us not taking fuel. That's what caused all those issues for us. It's just a learning curve, you know?
And at this point, we had about 20 minutes to make it to main pit before the lap 1 cutoff, which means if you don't make it there before the cutoff, you don't get to go back out. So we asked Noah and Mike if they were good to go. We knew they had to pull spark plugs and shoot the oil out and then get rolling. But there was not really anything we could do at that point in time to help them. So they said, we're good, we'll get it figured out. And we wished them the best and headed up the sand hill, made it up the hill, bombed through Turkey Claw, no issues. Started having fuel pickup issues again right after. So we had to just start babying the car, low RPM basically, all the way back to main. And during this time, we heard on the radio that their motor had seized.
4635 to main, do you have a copy? We are at the hill leading up to Turkey Claw, and our race is over. The motor is seized.
Oh, no. I'm so sorry, boys.
Go get them, guys. We're rooting for you.
So they blew all the oil out, put the spark plugs back in, and in that time that they were putting the spark plugs back in, more oil had leaked down from their valve covers, and it had hydrolocked the cylinder because it just didn't have enough time sitting to drain it all out. And when they went to fire it up, it threw a rod bearing or something and totally kaput. So their day was ruined at the cost of helping us continue our day. And for that, like, huge bummer. Pretty much put a huge damper on our day, and we were really bummed that them stopping to help us ended up just ruining their day. Had they not helped us, they could have easily made it through Turkey Claw, got to main pit, fixed whatever issues they had on their car, and headed out into the rocks. We took that information and really just tried to apply it to the rest of our day, and fighting to just keep going. So hit main pit, splash fuel. We then decided to have us cross the line to get into the cutoff, cross the line, and then stopped and swapped out our rear drive shaft because we had this huge gouge in the middle. It was all neck down in one spot, and we were worried that in any high torque situation, that drive shaft was just going to twist. So swapped in the spare drive line, cleaned our fuel filter, and took off for lap 2. We made quick time out to Spooners. Did really well coming down through Spooners. We had this weird issue with every time we'd hit like a hard G out coming down off of things crawling through there, the car would die. So I kept having to restart the car a bunch. But we made it through Spooners fairly easily. No big hangups or anything. And then started up Outer Limits. And at this point, we saw another 4600 car, Albert Contreras, coming down. They had lost their front locker solenoid on their ARB locker. And they said that it was a big traffic jam. He didn't want to be a part of the bottleneck, so he was calling his race. And then kind of had this like mentality of like, if you're going up there, you're probably just going to be waiting around for a while. And that happened to us our first year. We got into Outer Limits and we couldn't go anywhere because cars were just blocking everything, and we ended up timing out. But we were determined to make it through. So we pushed on, got up to the traffic jam in Outer Limits, got out of the car to assess all the vehicles that were up there. 2 of them were moving, another 2 of them were broken, and then another one was waiting right in front of us. The one who was waiting right in front of us decided to just turn around and head out. So cool, one out of the way. The next one was stuck next to another broken car, and he was working on winching through it. So we tried to offer our help to get through there, but they had it totally figured out and were just making moves on getting through. So then we hiked up to another team, and we helped them continue to move forward, hook up winch line, and keep moving. And by the time they were up, the other car was moving. We got in, made the pass on the broken car, and then followed those other 2 trucks up Outer Limits. Got through that pretty clean, a few winch pulls, and smoked the drive shaft pretty good on the yoke. Got to pit 2, got more fuel, checked over the car, and then headed out for the sand hill after remote pit 2.
Let's just take our line. I'm gonna just hit it in low because I'm worried it's not gonna go back into it. Okay. But I'm hoping that since more people have run it, it's gonna be a little more tracked out.
Yeah.
And we'll just try and do what we did. If it doesn't work, we'll reconvene, yeah?
Okay, works for me.
Tried that twice. We could not get up as much as we tried. So we decided to go down and around to Boulder Dash, which was the bypass for the sand hill. Halfway up Boulder Dash, we barely kissed the drive shaft and the whole thing exploded.
Do a big rock up.
Drive shaft.
Is it?
Yep.
So I think getting hung up on it in Outer Limits weakened it, exploded it. So then we got out, swapped the old drive shaft back in, finished going up Boulder Dash, went down Big Johnson, and then we got into Wrecking Ball and one other trail right after that. Got up those. Took a while, but we got up them. Made a few more passes. The 4Runner in front of us broke a tie rod, so we got around him. Sadly, we didn't have a spare for them, being the same kit. Otherwise, we totally would have offered it. I wish we did, and it makes us want one now that we know that it could potentially be an issue. And then we also got around another XJ in our class who was having steering issues as well. Cleared that trail, got back down to remote pit 2 for the second time. We decided to weld on angle iron to reinforce that drive shaft. And at this point, I had noticed our TK shifter having a little bit more play than usual. So I was getting worried that the weld on there could potentially break. They had me drop the T-case in neutral to spin the drive shaft to weld the angle iron on. And mentally, I was just like, oh, I hope this isn't the last time I can get this thing to shift. And I should have just voiced it and said, hey, can we just pull forward and weld it that way? But I popped it into neutral, put it back into low to leave, low engaged, great, and we headed out and started pushing up past King's Vito and into the little loose trail that heads over the hill towards Chocolate Thunder. And we noticed that the car was kind of squirrely and a little all over the place, but low was engaged. And in our truck, you can't necessarily engage too low without twin sticks, which we didn't have. So I was a little concerned. Tried to disengage and re-engage for low once we got to the hill. And while trying to do that, the shifter snapped off. And so then we tried vice grips, we tried a pry bar, we tried needle nose, and everything we tried, we could not get the car to go back in 4 low. So at this point, I made the decision with Will to just call our race. There was no reason to go in there and either break down, get stuck, make a big recovery for some other people to have to deal with or our team to deal with. So got the truck back in 4 high, drove back to pit 2 and tucked our tails and called it a day.
Oh, get me out. Good race. Good job, Will. We tried. At least we can say we did everything that we could.
Overall, it's the farthest we've made it at Hammers. The car mechanically did really, really well outside of the fuel issues and the T-case shifter braking. The front end held up amazing. The Yukon gears in the front diff. It's a little 8-inch diff, and all day it was just chugging, using the locker. Really, really pleased with how everything worked. The Icon shocks all day worked amazing. We put that Warn winch to work, pulling a bunch of cable during the day. It was a lot of work, but really pleased with how the car performed and excited to fix those small issues and have a really good, fun race season ahead of us. Thank you guys for watching. Should I mention the video footage missing? Sadly, a good bit of our footage from basically the beginning of race day, outside of the GoPro stuff in the car, disappeared. It got written into a different folder. It didn't get offloaded, / we couldn't find it. Sadly, we lost footage. So Dalton tried. He really tried to find it, but basically from the start of the race on, so our pit footage, packing up, driving home, all of that, it's gone. So we can't show you the last little bits, but we hope you enjoyed the GoPro footage and me explaining a little bit about our race day. We also hope that you guys really enjoyed this series. It was a lot of work to put this stuff together, trying to get internet to get music, editing in the middle of the lake bed, finding Wi-Fi to upload the footage. But we really wanted to try and get you guys involved with what happens at Hammers, our racing program as a whole, and try and keep it fun and exciting and timely. If you guys enjoyed this, let us know. Leave a comment below. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're gonna have more racing content coming to this channel, of course. We might not have a race until later this spring, but in the meantime, we are doing more trips. So go over to Sherpa Equipment Co.'s YouTube channel. We're actually leaving for Baja this coming weekend. So we'll be down in Baja for a week, trolling around in the Ram, having a good time. And we're gonna try and cover all that. So be sure to go check that out. Also, remember to use the code Motorsports on our website for all things Sherpa related. You get 7% off, and that code is Motorsports right here. Dalton's gonna put text right here. So yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you next time.